So what we have here in the symbol of the meditation is this circulation. Which, in a way, with the figure of 8, we use vertically, like this. Because when you start a circulation like this, it's happening on many layers, beyond the actual points. And also horizontally, future, past, side to side. In another dimension, it's kind of like a revolving bagel, which turns inside out.
Torus.
Yeah, the torus. There's two things really important about this. One is that it has a center point, a meeting position. North, south, east, west, future, past, male, female, a meeting point of polarities, a center point. The second thing, which is really important, is that it's a circulation outwards and back inwards again. This would be on the horizontal, towards the other and back again. Active, receptive. Speaking, listening. Push, pull. And the still point, which is always there. The still point, which is always there, within the push and the pull. Within all the happening, all the division, there's the space behind. The male, female. There's a point which is neither male nor female. One. On the vertical, the circulation is like heaven, earth, or spirit, matter. Mind, body, through the heart.
I thought we were doing it flat, horizontal.
Also, but also we make the figure of 8 like this.
Okay.
So in most schools of inner growth, and this is actually in some ways the more pleasant part, we do this movement. Unhook, 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 unhook. Transcendental meditation. Move beyond this world of suffering, this hard world. Disentangle. Which is kind of like dying. Move out of life. Back to the origin. But just as we were born, When you reach the origin, the next movement starts. Back into life. Into the polarities. You're male or female. You're in a body. You're still here. Need to do something. Get a job. You get married. There's a movement back. Incarnation. For many, this movement back is much, much harder than the movement out.
From life?
Yeah. The movement back into life is much more difficult, paradoxically, back into the world than the movement out of the world. To say it a different way, being born into the world is more difficult than leaving it and dying. Because in a way we're born again each moment. Especially students of inner growth, because they're here for a reason. It feels good to move out. There's a tendency, a drive towards that. They know there's safety behind the world. But to move back in, this is the coaching students. They like that. These are the ones that study how to deal with people much more grounded. It's almost another faculty of inner growth. And what we try and do in this course is bring the whole circulation, even if it's just with one little issue, one choice, one confrontation, and as far as it goes, but to establish the principle of the circulation. So, why is it difficult for us, sometimes, to make the movement back into being human, living, doing life? Why would that be difficult? We don't want to die, oh God forbid, we do everything we can to survive, but we have a difficulty coming back into being human, being female, being in a form, having a physical body.
And giving form in the world.
Manifesting. Where do we get stuck? What is it that we're hitting in this circulation back which stops us? Put on the brakes. Stops the expansion. Where do we freeze? In the way back in towards becoming human. Why freeze? This is before there is even fear. Let's say it's the first time we come in. The first time ever existence came into human form. It hasn't learned yet, it has no history to be afraid.
Can you say it again? I didn't.
Before we get to fear, the fear of the physical, fear of the human, it's before that. Because we didn't yet learn. If we were the first, existence has no past. It's eternal. And we're moving into form. We didn't learn to be afraid yet. Fear is a learning based on what was. So what was, wasn't. So before fear, there's something there, and coming into the human, which limits us, sends us back again, limits the expansion. Or we could keep going in a really natural, wide expansion.
You mean in the first creation of the soul or whatever? Or every time you enter life?
Both. Because
Because
the
every time you
past
enter life there is a learning
yes. But even if we had no karma, no background, we were Adam and Eve the first time, we didn't learn yet. To be afraid. Fear is based on the past, projected on the future. All our fears are based on something that happened which we expect will happen again, and on which we build an agenda to avoid.
You can also say, what is outraging us by being physically alive and giving form and moving into a form? What is so outrageous about life?
Physical, human.
Physical life, human life. Look at your children. What do they get outraged with?
Limitation of freedom.
Yeah. And how does freedom get limited?
By putting limitations, by meeting limitations. By not knowing how to.
Like an infinite desire for expression, and it meets physical limitations. It encounters physical limitations because of life's circumstances.
But when you know yourself as infinite, eternal existence, you know that this border, this physical body, this male form, is just going to pass. So it's a service, it's something you do for a lifetime, which is really not that much. And then you're back again into this much vast, infinite, eternal dimension.
Could it be that this female form is suffering?
That also, just after experiencing, not before.
So the first experience we have when we come to life is
Form.
what?
Come to form.
Come to form, yeah, not to life, because life is eternal. The opposite of death is birth.
Mm-hmm.
Is birth. This is the first confrontation basically with physical life. Independent physical life is birth.
But is it suffering or is it just pain?
Pain is suffering.
Pain.
It
No,
hurts.
suffering it's more the way you interpret it.
If you never had pain and you're born in pain, this is a little bit outrageous.
Yes, but it's not suffering. It's pain.
The pain is a kind of suffering. It's pain. You can say pain is not suffering, but when you've got a tooth which is infested, is rotting, and the nerve is not dead yet. It's pain, it's just pain. You're not suffering, you just have pain.
It's suffering.
When you give birth to a child, it's just a little bit of pain, it's not suffering.
It's painful for the child.
Of course.
And if it wasn't, they make sure of that later with the first injection.
Of course, it's also painful for the child. How could it not be painful for the child when the child is absolutely in unity with the mother?
Mm. No, but for the physical itself, the way it gets out, it's pain.
Oh yeah, you can be sure. You know, when I put your head underneath a big weight, so that basically the different segments of the skull have to kind of go over each other, and the pressure which is built up is, I can assure you, this is not pleasant. It's not a pleasant experience. It's when you get out once, then it can be pleasant, but it's not a pleasant experience.
Is there also suffering during pregnancy?
There can be.
לא שמעתי את השאלה.
האם גם בזמן ההיריון יש סבל during pregnancy? Is there also
For the baby?
suffering? Yes. Physical suffering or only
If the mother is suffering, the baby is suffering.
Yes.
Oh, he feels what the mother feels, right? Oh.
And is there any mother who's not suffering?
Not a Jewish mother.
In the end, Natalie, we are all Jewish mothers. So the question is, if there is so much suffering, so much part of life, physical suffering, emotional suffering, you know, spiritual suffering, if this is part of life, so could it be that this is what we draw back from? That this is the challenge of life, to accept the suffering, which is part of life? The suffering of rejection we talked about yesterday. The physical pain, the suffering of loneliness, of separation, having a separate physical body. Suffering of being misunderstood, not being seen. The outrage of it. Again, I look to my children. They're very small. Outrage if you don't understand them immediately. It's not with every child the same, but again, it's where is the sensitivity of the child.
And also what Eyal says is very, very true. You have this existence coming through layers of vibration, layers of form, into the physical, which already begins to be to it slow. Digga, 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 digga. It hits. There's a conflict. It moves into it, and there is a loss of freedom. In that moment, there's a slowdown. And what happens in that slowdown is that the slowdown is so loud because it's a slow vibration that it seems the freedom's not there also. It seems it's lost. It's like the one who screams in the room the loudest is the one everybody remembers. And there can be 30 people silently meditating, and it's... So we identify with the loud, slow, dugga, dugga, but it hurts. We can't let it go. We fight to survive within it. But we also, when we're free, really don't want it back that much. It's painful. We freeze. It's like putting a really pure ear in a discotheque at 3 in the morning with a load of frechot and acid music. What would happen to him?
Sounds nice.
You would close in. You would close in.
I would put...
Yes, close down the senses.
Ja, je moet nog gaan en zitten.
Wat doe je?
Put on a wetsuit.
Does it have any kind of preparation to it, or you go from total freedom of movement and everything, and being very fast in the whatever, everything goes very, very fast, and then it goes very, very slowly because you get into matter, or is it gradual?
Everything is possible.
Everything is
Both,
possible.
everything is possible with its effect.
But we have to understand that from the eternal, at once, we're thrown into time. This is always a moment. The moment, it's not, you cannot move gradually from eternal into time.
And is it in the birth itself, or it's...
Everything is possible. Before birth, after birth, but somewhere it is will happen to us.
Going into time?
And to phrase that more precisely, time is added to the eternal. The eternal is not lost.
No. But time is like...
And on another level, from the infinite, infinity was thrown into a space. The space of our body,
Our Polish mother.
the mental space, space given for love, allowed for love. Many, 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 many divisions into spaces.
So it's limited space comparing to infinite eternity.
Infinity. Space is added to infinity. So we are still infinite, but we are in space. When we're doing time as human, physical, emotional, mental.
And then there is this horrible thing that what we think is the most spiritual part of ourselves. I think it's important guys to mention this as well. Our mind is the most physical part. It's the biggest limitation.
The mind?
Yeah, the mind is dividing everything into polarity. Before that is no polarity. The mind is absolutely working according to physical laws. After we die, we really have no mind anymore, as we know it as a physical mind. There is this incredible, infinite source of intelligence which is available for all of us when we move beyond the mind. But the mind itself, as we know it, is absolutely physical. It's an incredible limitation. It's either or, it's kind of catching you, focusing on something which is incredibly helpful because it helps us to understand and polarity, but it's absolutely not, it's a drop in the ocean of what we really are. It's caught into a very, 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 very limited space, which limits itself even more towards the physical. The less we are physical, the less we accept physical life, the more we're caught in a limited space in our mind. There is a force in this, there's a suffering in this. There is no escape It's quite cruel, in a way. No mercy there.
So the first one to reject suffering, the pain, the physical life, is the mind. It makes an either-or. Which one can it hold on to? Can it hold on to eternity and infinity, or can it hold on to time-space? It doesn't have an and. It's either-or.
But does it
What
have
feels-
the feeling? Does it have the sense of or the feeling of infinity yet? When it really comes in?
The mind is also infinite. It comes into the physical. It's an either-or. His time, his infinity, his eternity. Which one does it hold on to?
It doesn't
If it
have
held
any
on to-
choice. It has to do.
No, it does. It could hold on to eternity. And then this baby would be a vegetable. It wouldn't find form mentally. It could hold on to time. This is the engagement in time. But before that, what it does is it's coming from this incredibly powerful source of peace and love. It meets suffering, and in the either-or, the suffering exists, the peace and love can go. Because the suffering is louder. This is what's there now in the physical, the confrontation.
But you have no choice. It just happens to.
This happens. This is part of it. But the mind then will label it. This is suffering which is to be avoided. I want the pleasure. I want the unity back, even a bit of it that I had with my mother.
I want the freedom.
So something does remember.
Of course.
Oh yeah.
It's still there.
But the mind chooses to reject the good stuff.
Why?
Because you can't hold, the mind cannot hold on to infinity, eternity, peace and love in form so easily. When we center ourselves, we find our form. Makes us feel safe, it gives us, there's a service in it. But the mind also makes a judgment.
Also, it's based on fear. This is where fears are coming in. We fear the suffering. If we are afraid of dogs and we move through Tel Aviv, Tel Aviv is the city with the most dogs. We see dogs everywhere. We get focused on our suffering because it's so difficult to accept it. The discomfort of life. And the more we're suffering from the discomfort of life, the more we tend to move up into the mind. The more we try to control through the mind the amount of suffering which comes to us. Please, not this plate for me. If I can dump this plate of suffering on somebody else, I do it immediately. It's unbearable. This is very young already. In classrooms, what you see, that there is kind of a formation, and there is, in most formations, a victim. And on this victim, the stress, the suffering, the discomfort is dumped. In teasing, in pushing down, in excluding. And the ones who are feeling excluded the most are the ones who are teasing and excluding the strongest. The ones who are more still in unity, they will not tease. You understand? You recognize what I'm talking about? So the ones who are suffering the most has the tendency to dump the suffering the most on others. It's not about a good and bad. This is how it is right now. This is cruel, in a way. You know, we can have a judgment about it. There is cruelty in it. But then cruelty is also part of life. It's how it is. It is what it is.
You said that those that suffer the most has the ability to what?
The one who suffers the most has the tendency to dump the the most suffering on others. If you look in daily life reality right now, the one who is damages the most is able to damage others the most. You know, there's so many examples. One who has been sexually abused has the tendency to sexually abuse his children. He's damaged the most and kind of damages as well. There is an outrage behind it. You recognize what I'm talking about? These are psychological kind of phenomena. What we see right now in our society as human beings, what's happening. So we dump suffering. The suffering we don't want, we give to the neighbor. If you have a feeling that somebody's going to reject you, if you're smart, you reject him so strong that he will not open his mouth anymore. I've got some criticism. You? Have you seen yourself today? And the one who shouted loudest seems to be heard the least, but it's not true. The shouting is coming from the outrage, by being so much hurt. The rejection is uncontainable for this person. So, what's the antidote inside ourselves for this suffering? This is the question. What is the antidote? What keeps us alive? Because you know, there is this outrage about suffering and we draw back from life from it, but there is something which also keeps us going on. What's keeping us going on in all this kind of bullshit we're talked about? Why do we still have a drive to give form to our lives, to give form to ourselves? What's the drive? Now we say, what's kind of holding us back? We've been talking about, but what's the drive? Where do we do it from? And where from is this coming?
In one of the courses a few years ago, you said that there's an urge, there's a need for expression in any life form.
Yeah. Where's this coming from?
And
This
it's also
urge.
fun for the physical body.
It's also fun. It has this beauty. Absolutely. And there's times that you really can enjoy it to be physical.
I think it's part of the person. It's the essence is pure happiness and
Yeah, but then you just go into the essence, pure happiness, and you ignore all the rest. Why to give form?
It's that, it's the outward movement.
Maybe it's unique.
This is what it is.
But along the way, the secret of our individual passion is found. Sorry?
You want to share it.
You want to share it, yeah. So this is really, really important. So in the I Am Here course, it closed, just to recap, with a part of the physical miracle of being here, human. And that on the 3 levels was bliss, the feeling of bliss of being in the body. This is on the level of consciousness. When you become conscious, really conscious of your body, and free in the mind, because the mind somehow dampens consciousness, the thinking. When we come really into the here and now in the body, it's very blissful. It's human, blissful. When we come deeply into a liberation on the level of awareness of the heart, there can be quite an ecstasy in being human, being together. We're not going to go into the whole course, I'm just recapping so that you know what we're coming to, which is the passion.
I didn't catch the first sentence. When we go deeply into what?
When we are free in our consciousness and our consciousness really moves into the physical,
Okay.
it can be very, very blissful. There's a lot of bliss in conscious, here and now, physical. We know this. If you touch something really, really consciously, it's blissful. On a level of the heart, when there is a freedom, a liberation of awareness, it can be ecstatic to be human. There's an ecstasy. Kind of happiness which is quite unconditional. So alive. Just in the many, many, many happenings and feeling, there's an ecstasy of happening, of color.
And you have to be the physical world in order
This is
to
very
feel
human. This is very much the reward of being human.
it. It cannot be felt in
It has its source. For sure it has its source, but as we know bliss and ecstasy, we are talking about human bliss and ecstasy. And this is important because then we get to the level of emptiness. What's in the emptiness? When everything has collapsed, let's take out everything that's temporary, everything that's held in space, all form gone. Just infinite, eternal emptiness. There is a seed, like a hope, an expectation, a waiting. And this we called the passion.
What we call the passion? The seed?
The passion, we called it this very, very precisely because passion actually means the same thing as suffering. It's the same word. The passion of Christ.
Okay.
Passion means suffering.
Why?
Why?
I don't understand.
Why would we suffer? Why would we agree to suffer? You know, if you've got AIDS and you're going to die, and you're going to die a horrible, painful death, why would you not just kill yourself?
Some do.
Because
Not enough passion.
life is too beautiful you want to stay.
Because of others?
Life is too beautiful. Where is this coming from, Noah? If you really look inside yourself, what do you mean when you say life is too beautiful, you want to stay? What's beyond that?
You want to survive.
No, you're dying.
You want to survive, exactly. But if you look, what is behind that you want to survive? What's the drive in that?
That's the consistency of eternity. There's like this
Love.
aspect of things which exist the whole time, that never stop, you know, it's continuously of existence.
It's so difficult and so logic when we say it. In all of us is this very deep passion for life. There is a passion. It's so buried. If you look to the child, where it's less buried, you see a passion for life. It makes us go on. A passion to do good. Makes us, you know, even the most big dictator still is moved by a passion to do good.
A passion to make an impact.
It's not the same. You just, if you get into the physical body, you stay the same as if you don't have a physical body, except you have different organs, and the passion, it's the same passion, isn't it?
This is absolutely spiritual, physical, but this passion is the most difficult part. It's stronger as our love. It's stronger as our mind. From this passion, we can be absolutely destructive, and we can build the most beautiful things. It keeps us going. From this passion, we can work. When you're in a passion, you can work 24 hours a day. It's such a strength. It's such a power. What holds us back? Moving really to the depth of this passion.
So what happens is we're coming into form, we suffer, 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 we go into our karma. Yes? Maybe our karma is a family of alcoholics. All the pain of addiction, maybe this is what we're hitting when we come into form. It's a child born into an alcoholic family. I'm taking one example. At a certain stage, the suffering, despair becomes so great that everything is like, it doesn't matter, I don't care, I don't mind, I give it up. It comes down to this basic level in the emptiness. And in this level of total suffering, just, I surrender to the suffering, I give up. Let me die in the suffering. There's a magical moment where the suffering is no longer private. It's not an individual suffering, it's a great big shared pool of suffering. It's not about me anymore, I just died in it. The ego, the separate form, the separate self, the private self which is suffering, gave up and died. And the suffering is there as a shared pool. It's no longer individual, it's something which is there in the unity of all of us.
But the unity is when you're not physical. There's the unity, there's fast, everything is fast, and there is a unity and there is sharing. So when you come to the physical body, there is that, what you said now, the passion brings you to the same thing, unity. So in a way, you just want to make the same here through the physical body that you have when you don't have a physical body. So that's what I was trying to say.
I absolutely agree with you.
I don't.
But, yeah, I know, but, the physical and non-physical at the same time.
No.
But,
Okay.
let's take it from this angle and then you from your angle. That means that the moment another person is suffering, unity is not possible.
In that aspect.
Yes, so that means that there is unity in suffering at that moment.
Yes.
So there is suffering. That means that your suffering is the suffering of all of us.
Yes,
So that means that there is always suffering. There's no escape. There is not a split between unity and suffering. It's part of it. There is not a split between bliss and suffering. There is not a split between ecstasy and suffering. It's part of it. If we really are open, there is a moment that you just not remember that there's also suffering in your lives. There's moments like this. But there are moments. There's no escape.
I didn't get you. You said you agree, you totally agree, but, and I don't understand the but, because the but is
Because in the way you talk is like you make a split, if I understand you right. I'm not saying like you make a split between unity and suffering, the non-physical and the physical.
No, I just said that the drive is that here in the physical body we are duplicating what we are trying to duplicate. To duplicate what we have when we are not in physical body. That's what I'm trying to
Yes,
say.
but this is coming from an
Maybe
assumption.
It's a little bit different. Maybe there are, in general, I'm talking in general, probably there are details there which are not exactly fitting, but in general, I think that's the general idea. So when you ask these two questions, what is the drive and what what stops us, and that's because everything is slow, and what makes us go is still go. That's the natural needs for unity which exists before we came here. So you do it through these three.
Now what I don't hear, this is the really almost physical, energetically drive, the most spiritual part of ourselves, the strongest part, in the end the most quick moving part as well. This is the passion. It's not 2, it's 3. If you define it like this.
It's true. What do you mean it's not 2, it's 3? It's not the physical. Okay,
Physical, non-physical, passion.
So when a person wants to commit suicide, then he's not connected at all to his passion? What is it?
Or maybe think that if you
Why?
do
Where is the
suicide,
passion? Where is it?
it will make an
Where
impact.
is it in the body?
Yeah.
Where is the love?
But it's stronger than love. You said it's
We can disconnect from everything.
So it's like a game. Like there are many souls flying, and they want to participate in creation. So they come to life to do something, and then they have to do reality or whatever.
Yeah. It's like a balance where we bring into unity a polarity, time, space, unity. But what I heard from you, and I've heard this before, is really a strong belief that we are physically not in unity. That the physical body makes us separate. You say it like this is an assumed truth, that physically we're separate. Yeah. Is this right? This is what you're...
Yes, it's right. But you
Okay.
study.
No, we have to start there, because this is not where we are coming from at all. Physically, there is total unity. We are made connected physically. That's the mind, and that's this level and this level.
So
This
the
mind
mind is what
is
is
not
creating
creating
the split and not the physical body.
Physically, we're in total unity. We return to dust. We came from dust. We are composed of
Right
dust.
now I'm not dust.
Right now,
I am dust, but I don't.
right now,
Experience
if there is a
myself
sudden
to be dust.
It's an organized
wave of heat, it affects us all in unity. If it rains on Jews and Arabs, on everybody. If something changes in the atomic structure of physical matter, we are all changed physically.
Yes, but if I have a toothache, Eric, and you don't have a toothache.
If you have a private toothache, okay, so you have a private toothache. You're suffering. And you completely die in this toothache.
I'm not
This
dying.
pool of
I'm happy that I have toothache and nobody sees that.
yes.
If I'm dying, okay, that's a problem.
So what comes forward is how incredibly painful toothache is for a human being. Or do you think that your toothache is different from the toothache of the neighbor?
No, but you said that you think, that's, I don't think I feel, okay?
You
I don't-
feel the
I don't-
incredible
I don't-
pain.
And yes, and the moment I feel it, you don't feel it. So it was unity in philosophical way, philosophical thinking that after everything, behind
Okay.
everything.
So this is a good time to continue,
Okay.
because this kind of comes through the central point.
And I want to make one remark, and is that okay? It's really, when we look to it, I don't want to start a discussion with a dialogue, and it moves to a discussion. It's really in why it's interesting to look why it moves to a discussion. What we're taking away a little bit is privacy, your own precious private suffering and bliss. This is what we're taking away, and this gives resistance. There is not something as private suffering or private bliss. We come later to it, but you go on.
Yes, we did an example. You started with the example that a baby comes to alcoholic family, he meets the karma, and then
And then within the suffering, there's a shared pool of suffering. The ego is released. Within this suffering becomes passion, because you're still there. There still is a body, there still is a heart.
It's after you give up?
Yeah.
So I'm saying
And
that
the
we
passion
should give
is
up.
born and begins to rise. But a passion to make it better.
When you give up
Not
the
individually.
fight against suffering,
To give up is the fight.
the fight against the suffering. This is what we're talking
It's a
about.
passion of service. So in the case of the alcoholic, maybe they became an alcoholic themselves and and they cure themselves. The passion is born in the service towards working in rehabs, helping other alcoholics, reducing this suffering. A very, very strong drive starts to come up, to take form. But first we have the empathy. This is the moment where your suffering is no longer private. It's not my suffering, your suffering.
But that's
If
in
you
a
have a
growing
toothache-
process. It's not when a baby needs it. I'm trying to understand. When does it come?
Absolutely, a baby is absolutely empathic with the suffering of the mother. There is no difference.
The baby is in the suffering.
But because it's a shared suffering, there's also a passion to connect. You know, when I feel a pain in you, I allow myself to experience this as well. So we're together in the pain. Empathy is born. There is a togetherness, and the suffering is less. If we do it all together, it's a shared pool of suffering, and it's anyhow. You understand?
I feel here a shared pool of misunderstanding what you mean. It's a suffering for us.
Yeah.
I don't connect the dots. Are you saying that to have a passion I need to go into suffering and then die in it? And
Accept,
what?
allow the suffering. Because the other option is to say, I reject the suffering, I want pleasure. So this suffering, this discomfort, I chuck out into the emptiness. I don't
you
want
have
this.
passion to let us all know what they're talking about. So that's what you are saying and what you are saying.
Take the example of the cruelty of rejection. You know, me and Noam have an entanglement of rejecting each other. He secretly is so angry at me. I'm building stories, he's building stories. There's still a passion because we can't leave each other alone. Rejecting. I'm talking about him all the time. No, I did this and then he did this.
What did he say back to you?
He's talking about me all the time. And we think we get over it, we come back and come to this energy of like cruelty. And it's like, God, he's doing it again. And he thinks, she's doing it again. But what's actually happening is there's a field of cruelty between us. It's not my cruelty, it's not your cruelty. There is cruelty between us. There is suffering between us. We share a field of suffering. When one of us says, I am here in this suffering, in this cruelty, with you, for you. I'm not the suffering, he's not the suffering, but we are both there to be of service, to see how we can move it, heal it, make it better. If we don't do this, and we say it's his cruelty, and he says it's my cruelty, then before long, your ear is involved. Judging. And he gets into the field of cruelty. This bit's yours, this bit's theirs. These are the social workers. Your fault, you're both responsible, and the pool gets wider. Nobody is actually allowing the suffering to be there in the first place. But it is there. But we don't want it, so it's his, it's mine, it's the story, it's this, it's that, let's fix it. Let's fix it. So this in empathy is the key. Empathy has no agenda to fix anything. Somebody is in incredible pain. You come to them and say, they've got They lost a leg. Their leg was amputated. They're in incredible pain. They're in the hospital. You come in and say, well, you still got one leg. Sunny outside at least. My neighbour, she lost both legs. So you should feel, grateful. Take away the pain. Take it away. Reject the pain. Reject the suffering in the other. The other is lying there with one leg. A footballer.
You don't have to work.
The pain is not allowed to exist.
I'm jealous.
So they try to attune to the people that want to make it better, and they push the pain away. They push the suffering away as well. I'm not really suffering. After all, I've got one leg left. The pain is left, untreated. It never was allowed to be there in the first place. So how could we heal it?
So the passion is the allowing? How it is connected to the passion? I understand what you're saying, but
the empathy is the allowing. The moment we allow it, there comes a drive. We come again into form. We begin to move again into form. For all that, even though I can totally allow the pain of the toothache between my interaction with Iris, for all that, I don't have toothache, she does. And we're now rising into form. This is where, physically, there is a separation within the unity. We are one physically, but you have a separate physical body from me, and in this moment alone, the toothache is with you, not with me. So the passion rises to the level of the heart, this drive to do good. And here we have compassion. I can be of service. My form is able to be of service to the other form.
Thank you.
Can I book you a dentist? I see you're in agony. I can do that because she's in agony. It's not taking the pain away, it's being together in the passion of healing, of making better. This is the difference between unity in the emptiness and togetherness. You can't have togetherness without division. The opposite of division is togetherness. Unity doesn't have an opposite, it's always there. But in the world of form you have a division. We are all one with many, many forms within the one. And it's not something that comes from the mind compassion, it happens of itself. It's not an agenda to fix. I would call the dentist because I can. Because to not call the dentist would really be holding back something. There's a passion there to be of service, to make better, to reduce suffering. Even with a little thing. Even if after this whole alcoholic collapse, you can help one alcoholic on the street. It gives an incredible reward.
Don't look at me, I'm not connecting the dots.
Okay, I go a little bit in between, and I really want you to wake up. Really wake up, really kind of try to move with me, because, it's the mind who's resisting this, according to beliefs and patterns of thinking. It's quite clear what we're saying, and look at the YouTube movie again. It's a resistance, it's a non-understanding, which is because you're not used to look at this way. But just imagine that you are in your family, your limited or bigger family, and one of the persons is suffering, and the other ones are ignoring this. What's happening? How big is the shared suffering? There is no private suffering. It's not there. It really is not there. If you really look at it, it's not there. We all influence each other, and the more we ignore the suffering of another poor person, because we don't want suffering, we don't want to see it, we don't want to feel it, it's not allowed. The more we don't allow the whole circle of our lives because we get stuck. We cannot finish a feeling. We cannot finish an action. We cannot finish a form because it gets stuck. It gets stuck in the area where there is always a goodbye. There is always a loss. It builds up, we create, and we destroy. There is destruction in every movement. It's life and death. If you start a meal, you will finish it. If you come together, you will say goodbye. It's all in polarities. It's a whole circle. If you give, there is also receiving. If we only want to give and not want to receive, you understand? If we don't accept the suffering of receiving, I'm joking. I shouldn't be right now.
It is a suffering to receive. It's extremely vulnerable to be receptive.
Also. But when you look to the whole circle, you know, we don't go through the circle, we get stuck. So we've not gone totally, fully alive. And part of the circle is to learn to accept the part of suffering of life. To accept that others are suffering as well. That there is a union in suffering. That if one person suffers, that we all suffer. The family example. The more we ignore it, the bigger the suffering is. The more we can all embrace it and be empathic. This is part of our life right now. The more there is a unity, also in the suffering. And this is so Jewish. This is so extremely Jewish. You know, the 7 days you sit together after a loss to share the suffering. It's such a basic Jewish thing. There's such a wisdom in it, because it's such a reality, because then it clears the air. There is a togetherness. You're not alone in it. We have a passion to make better. And the passion to make better, and to make it better for yourself, and to make better for another, doesn't mean that, you know, we must be in bliss all the time, or put ourselves in a state of bliss in which we are not aware of the suffering anymore. This is a split. The unity gets lost. It becomes almost a psychosis. It becomes selfish. It's not real. It's a half-life. It's a state. And the state can be of service for a period, but there is always the polarity. The master who is in bliss, and the students who are suffering. And they shouldn't be suffering. You know, if they would be smart, they would go into bliss. You see the arrogance in it. If they would know better, and they would open their heart more deeply, they would overcome their traumas and their pain, their traumas and their pain. It's because of you that you're suffering. Because of your karma. It's because of your parents. It's because of this. It's because of that. It's exactly the same. You recognize this is important. I'm very passionate about this, as you can see. We both are. But please wake up to this, that if somebody is suffering and we ignore it, it makes life so unsafe. If you just look in your family, it makes it unsafe for everybody. The whole atmosphere freezes. You recognize what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Good. This is what we're talking about. We cannot ignore. It's our suffering.
Also, it's really, really important to emphasize that all suffering is service. all suffering is of service to the whole. And to take the judgment out a little bit more about suffering, because when we suffer, we tend to also suffer isolation. We withdraw ourselves, we cut off, so as not to spread the suffering, if we're nice and deluded. We hold the suffering back, so as not to spread the suffering energy. We feel we are wrong. We did something bad, it's our karma. Something not done well in the meditation, we're not getting it, we're bad, we're wrong. If we have a shitty life, it's because of bad things we did before. This is the way we keep ourselves held in a way in rejecting the suffering. But it's really, really important to take the judgment out of it. It could be that you have a whole lifetime as a daughter or son in a particular family to suffer the karma of generations before you. And this could even be a physical, genetic karma. In order to be in it, to really allow it, in order to allow this transformation. It could be that this is an incredible service. A guy can be a lifetime in depression from generations of depressed grandparents, and it can seem that this guy is a total loser. But his one movement in healing the depression changes a whole direction.
Because he accepts it?
Because it's not private, it's not about him. When he heals his suffering, he's not healing his own private life suffering. He could be healing generations backwards and forwards, because then his children are a little bit less depressed. Even the genes change a little bit. It's not private suffering. It's a service. And the empathy which we recognize towards others, we should have towards ourselves, which means that if we are in pain, the first thing is to allow it.
It's part of life.
It is there. How could we heal it if we don't let it be there in the first place?
Also, and this is important, there is bliss, there is ecstasy, there is unity, which is as important. It's and it's not either or. Suffering is not the goal of our lives. It's not what's there. Suffering is part of creation itself. So, giving form, the mastery of form, this whole course is about creation. And it's part of creation itself. So if we reject one part of creation, we reject the whole creation. And we cannot afford to do this. We don't have the power to do that. You understand? We get caught. We suffer more. Or maybe this is the real suffering, as some teachers say. The suffering that we don't want the suffering. We want to eat the meat, but we don't want to eat the potatoes.
And again, you have this either-or thing happening. It is totally possible to be in pain, in a disaster, and to be happy at the same time. It is totally probable that we enjoy a funeral while grieving, while in pain, that also there is joy.
Joy of the togetherness.
The joy of the authenticity of it.
Yeah. There's a beauty in it. We can recognize when it's real, when it's shared.
And this brings us all the way back. It's totally possible to be eternal and to be doing time as a human being.
And.
To be silent, to be totally nourished and at peace in silence in a noisy place.
He's mastering
Tennessee.
So when you look to this passion, this deep passion for life, this aspect. This is such a help to move through difficulties, but also such a drive to make better. And we all have inside us this drive to make better. It's a human drive.
Or some people would say to evolve.
To evolve. It's a godly part of ourselves. It's part of creation, through which creation refines and refines and refines itself. Partly through, to say it in a very kind of maybe simple way, through our good deeds. Through our unconditional attitude. Through our taking responsibility for ourselves and for each other. Through our togetherness. It's so nice when a group of people are closing hands and are together in something. There's such a strength and power and passion in that.